Bahashem Yahawashi Bahashem Rakakadash. All praise, honor, and glory go to the Most High Yahweh. In the name of His Son Yahawashi. Back to you with a little quick lesson. See how long it goes. And I wanted to touch a basis on uh how we all got to go through our own chains, our own fetters, our own bonds that are pretty much our own lot that we have to face. Because we're getting to a point where those who trying to escape the final judgment, they're going to actually receive more judgment, and it's better just to be able to face what you have to go through. Like the man we're about to read about, Joseph, who endured slavery, endured being around no other Israelites, while he was in bondage in Egypt. And he didn't let that stop him from his way. He mentions about Yahweh a couple times while he was in Egypt. No, he still stuck to the truth because he knew who he was from, he knew who he was. And, he had an understanding of why, he had to go through what he had to go through was to, enlarge Israel. Because after he brought his brothers over, before the next Pharaoh, put us in slavery, we were allowed to grow. There's a lot of kids going on, a lot of, sex happening. And there's a lot of births, and Joseph knew, that everything happened for a reason. But I wanted to read the scripture, and I'm going to do some word lookup. This is Psalms 105:17. It says, He sent a man before them, even Joseph, who was sold for a servant. And that's talking about to the Israelites, because, if you go up a little further in verse 15, it says, saying, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. So those that are, the story is following. The lineage is following. Starting first from the sons of Yahweh, all the way down, to at this time, Jacob and his 12 sons. Which turned out to be, the tribes. It says, go back to verse 17. He sent a man before him, even Joseph, who was sold for a servant. It says, whose feet they hurt with fetters, he was laid in iron. It says, until the time that the word came, the word of Yahweh tried him, and like I said, he he was in touch with his power, I'm pretty sure to extrapolate a little bit, it was being nice when he was tested with it. It might have been tested with a lot of doubt. I mean, think about being sold away by your other 11 brothers, 10 brothers. I'm sorry, at the time, or allowing them throw you in the well. It's a lot of thoughts going through a man's head like that, and I think you can relate to in the sense of I've been reading about Joseph a lot is because he wasn't around the brotherhood, and that's something that I have to deal with now because of life conditions. And so what I do is continue to do the work that I'm called to do, and hopefully you know um I learn the lessons that the Lord is trying to tell me while I am purifying myself, getting ready for his arrival, when he sends his son to destroy this earth. you know Make sure I stay firm and bold and confident, you know faith built up, because everybody's gonna be tested to take that might go see it. you know so you know and I'm thankful that he has that spirit on me, but I'm praying it stays. It says, until the time that his word came, the word of Yahweh tried him. And I really just wanted to focus in on verse 18 just to give an understanding, because I always like to go to the spiritual of it all. So we're gonna look at 4 words, 5 words was laid in iron. So let's just be real quick with it. Pray this edifying. So feet is the word regal, most likely. It says foot, how according to the pace of 3 times. But if you go to the deeper word of it, the root word of it is the word regal again. If you read down to the end, it says to teach to walk. So sometimes, things are around us to teach us how to walk with the Lord. And Joseph had to learn how to walk with the Lord, even though he was in a whole heathen nation. And when he accomplished it, what had happened? He was placed is pretty much the king. He's only under the pharaoh by title. If you go to they hurt, it's H6031. Slovakia. It's the word ana. Ana. And this one spread to the point says to be occupied, to be busy with. To afflict, oppress, humble, be humbled, be bowed down, to be put down, to be depressed, downcast, to be afflicted, to humble oneself. So these are all the things that we must do. We must allow ourselves to be humbled, and we must humble ourselves. It goes with, when it goes to with fetters, is cabal. That's just the bonds that we have. But it also represents, these chains. The chain is this flesh. The chains of this flesh, because we're not allowed to, prosper the way that he intended us to be in those spiritual bodies. This is to come upon, fall, or light upon attack, to carry in, to bring to pass. So all the afflictions came to pass. He was in Arn, which is Bazal. Arn. If you go to the root word, is Berzoth. And it says in leanness, choice olive. As a place in it's a descendant of Asher. So as you see, the choice men that the Lord has chosen since the beginning of time have to go through afflictions the way He wanted them to go through it. We can only pray well that number, and we can only deal with the lot in the situation that we're in. So, that's just the best way to deal with anything. You have the brothers around. If you don't have the brothers around, you still got to be under order. You still got to, follow what the apostles and elders, have maintained, because that's the order of things. And praying that, I stay diligent in that as much as, to the best of my ability, and praying that, in the end, I get those mercies of David. So with that, just want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawashi, Yahawashi, Ba'ashem, for Kakadash, double honors to the apostles, elders, teachers, preachers, priests, bishops that came before me, taught me this truth through the videos, starting with the apostles and elders of the great millstone. Shalom, peace be to you, to the holy elect, which I pray, mother and brother, till next time, y'all willing.